guys, welcome back. And why oh why do I have this apart right here? Well, first things first is to take one step backwards and correct some tin action, some mistakes I made with a tin. Yes, some of you guys saw this and I noticed it the first time I watched my video. Yep, we're gonna fix this and we'll be right back into the assembly of the long block when it comes to installing the distributor drive. Yeah, distributor drive. We're also gonna be doing the fuel pump probably today, and we might even knock out the flywheel. It's stuck back there, you guys see it? The flywheel. And if this is your first time visiting the channel, this is Jason with JWClassicVW, and my infamous baby back here, my 1956 oval window ragtop turbocharged monster EFI beast video up here, guys. You wanna check that out? Goose, and the engine's name is Envy. Well guys, it's time to get back on this 40 horsepower build. This is video number 10. And we'll be doing that right after this intro. See you in a second. Okay, so now you can see that the deflector tin is nice and tight to the cylinders, the way it's supposed to be. This is the way it was before, guys, and this is what I was worried about, is this air gap would probably cause some issues when it comes to moving the air flow around the cylinders the way that it's supposed to be. Some of my friends out there were like, you'd probably be okay, man. It won't be that big of a deal. But, you know, I started thinking about it. And the more I thought about it, the more I knew that if I left the cylinder tins like that, it would probably drive me loonies, like literally crazy. Any kind of like overheating issues that I may end up having, I would probably think it has something to do with those cylinder tins. Comment down below, guys. Comment below. Would you have done the same thing? Yes. All right, guys, we have got both of the tins in position the way they're supposed to be, nice and tight and close to the cylinders. That's all been corrected. You guys can see that up underneath there? I think you can anyway. Well, it's good to go. And now it's time to go ahead and put this distributor drive in. Gotta install it, get it ready to rock and roll. And what we gotta do is, like I was telling you guys, we gotta make sure that we are in #1 TDC. And right now, you would think, by looking at the timing marks, let's see. You guys can see that or not? Let me put a light over here for you. All right, we're looking at the timing marks right here, and we got 0, which is #1, well, not #1, but top dead center, 0 degrees of advance, 5 degrees, 10 degrees, 20 degrees, and 30 degrees. You use this to help get your timing in place whenever you're doing your setup for your timing. Now, some of you guys, if you have a stock type of pulley here for your crank pulley, you're only gonna have like a notch mark there, and then maybe 2 more notches. One's for 0, and then the other one's for 7, and then 10. I believe that's correct. Comment below, guys, if you know otherwise. But I'm pretty sure that's right. So we want to make sure that we're lined up with the crack in the case with 0. And right about there is 0 with the crack in the case. Well, that's pretty close. Pretty close. See, right about there is 0 with a crack in the case. And what you want to have is both of your intake and exhaust valves for #1 right here loose. And we don't have that. That means we're 180 out right now. So let's go ahead and rotate it one more time and see if we can get this thing set up correctly to go ahead and put the distributor drive in. So something else to note is I don't have the spark plugs in yet. Plus I don't have the rocker set on the 3/4 side. So this is a little bit easier than it would be if I were doing this with the spark plugs in and all the valves opening and closing, right? Doing this by hand would probably not be possible. It's still a little tough right now, to be honest. All right, right there, with my one eye shut, one eye glanced down, we got our 0 degrees on the crack in the case. Let's see if we have a difference on the valves. Hey, look at that. We got Number 1 and number 2, or actually number 1 intake and exhaust, nice and loose. Good. I'm not gonna snug this down with a wrench or anything. I'm just gonna leave it loose for now. We'll come back and set the valves for real a little bit later. So for setting valves, there's so many different ways to do it. Right now we have ready. Valves are set for number 1 intake exhaust. To get in position for number 2 intake and exhaust, all you have to do is rotate back 180 degrees. And good. So what I'm going to do now is rotate through the assembly, rotate through a few times the crank to make sure that everything is settled correctly. And then I'll run through the valves one more time, and then we can go ahead and get this distributor drive ready to insert. Yeah. And we do. I do think it is always important to reference the material, the books, whenever possible. And this is something that it's important to note, guys, when it comes to your distributor drive shaft and the washers. It says right here that the 34 base horsepower engines are normally fitted with 2 0.6 millimeter thick washers on the distributor drive shaft. On some exchange engines, the drive shaft bore in the crankcase is machined out and the lower washer replaced by a 3 millimeter thick washer. Now that's pretty thick when you look at that 0.6 versus 3 millimeter. So the important thing to know is normally there's 2 of these 0.6 washers, so 2 washers. If you have a thick washer, like one seems thicker than the other, it says in here to take care to ensure that the thick washer is always underneath the thin washer. That's some good information to know. Whenever we go to insert the distributor drive into the case, we want to make sure that the thick side, there's a thick side to this bad boy. The thick side, so that would be the top of this one. There is a difference between them. The one below it is a little bit smaller, so I would say larger. So the larger side is supposed to be in line straight across, so pretty much parallel to the front of the case. So when you drop this in, with the way that these gears are, you need to make sure that you offset it. So you might drop it down and in and out a few times before you get it correct. Now, one of the things that I want to note is that you want to pay attention to lubing the washers. I've got 2 6 millimeter or 0.6 millimeter washers that I'm going to be using. You want to put some lube on these. I'm going to use some of my white lithium grease on these and then drop them down in. Something else that I want to show you guys real quick is the way I have the engine oriented. I kind of have it turned to the side a little bit like this because it helps flatten out the shelf that we'll be dropping the washers down on inside of here. That shelf down in there. Let me get some light down in there, guys. See? That shelf down in there. That's what we're dropping the washers down on. Since I don't have all my push rods in yet, I'll be using one of these push rods to help guide in the washers. This is some white lithium grease, guys. You've seen me use this before. Push rod down in until it bottoms out. Take these 2 and just let them fly, baby. Move around a little bit. Let me see if I can get you guys a visual of what I'm looking at. Whoa, down in there, buddy. Extreme zoom. I don't know if it'll focus, guys. Probably not. There you go. Now you can see they're down there sitting on the shelf. Now I have a tool that I use to install the distributor drive that helps out as well. And I would definitely recommend picking one up. It's for pulling out the distributor drive if it gets in there the wrong way. So yeah, this bad boy has been a lifesaver a few times. And I got marks on here because I use these marks to line up the straight side. See that little notch in there? I use that to line up the notch. That helps me get everything in position when it comes to installing the distributor drive. Now I already have it set up to where the thick side is right here. So get that line there, and then I know once I have this straight in the crankcase that I'm good to go. Now all you do is you put a little wrench on here and you tighten this bad boy up, or you can just use your hand. And put a little oil on these gear set, and then we should be good to go to drop this in. Little bit of oil. This is a brand new distributor drive, but if you have a used one, you want to check this landing here. This is where the rod rides for your fuel pump. If that's all worn out and kind of jacked up, you're going to want a new distributor drive. Because if it's jacked up, that's going to cause some issues with your fuel pump now, isn't it? I think it probably would. All right. So I got it to fall down in there without having to tighten things up, but you can see that we are off a little bit. Now, to be honest, that is not crazy. Like, you could probably still get your timing with that right there, but I'm gonna go ahead and try to drop it a few more times and see if I can get it straight. So this is kind of good information to know. Let me make sure this mic's on. I went ahead and dropped the distributor down in and kind of got everything lined up to hold it in place. You want to make sure that this is installed whenever you got the distributor drive in, just to kind of see. And in number 1 position at TDC, we do have the distributor rotor pointing at the front stud when it comes to the fuel pump, and that's a good sign. That is the sign that we're in number 1 firing position. Also, you know, you lock this down, it's got a little time mark on there. This is just to go ahead and set base timing. Let me zoom you in. Zoom you in. So it's got this little mark on here that I just painted to help me see it better. And let's move this around to where it's supposed to be. Go ahead and lock this down, and we'll see if we are in number 1 position when it comes to the distributor cap 2. Hey, look at that. So right here, we're right in firing order for number 1. So having the distributor drive off just a little bit seems to be where it wants to be anyway, and that lines up with the distributor. Let me show you where it is so you guys know that it's not straight across like the book showed. Maybe it's, like I said, not as big of a deal. So it's not exactly straight across, but that is pretty darn close, and it seems to line up with the distributors. Let me go ahead and get set up to install the fuel pump, because we got to do the fuel pump before we can move on to dropping this down and locking it into place. Hey guys, that time in the video again to remind you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe this content if you're enjoying it. Lots of you guys are watching and not subscribing. What's up with that? Hit that subscribe, enable notifications so that you can get all the future content from Jason and Goose, my baby over there. Stuff like the 40 horsepower build. I know you guys are loving it. Don't forget to check out the website over here. If you get a chance to, pick up a channel sticker and a flag tag. It's a great way to support the channel and keep this content rolling. Now, back to the video. So when installing the fuel pump base, it's just 1 gasket and then you have the rod here. I already know that this rod goes to this. You have to pay attention sometimes with these fuel pumps. There's different length rods, and if you're not getting any fuel pressure, it's probably because you got the wrong size one. And they are not interchangeable, so that's something that you need to watch out for. This also is pretty fragile jazz, it's pretty fragile material. When you drop that down in there, just be nice and easy with it. Don't be too crazy, because it can snap right here at the base, and then you're in for a whole other world of trouble trying to get this bad boy out of there. So I'm gonna use some of the 3-bond sealant on the base, on the bottom here, on this gasket, and then probably the same thing on the gaskets above. And you just keep using different, like if you want to keep stacking these bad boys up, that's how you change the pressure. And the more you have, the less pressure you'll have. Just you're gonna have to have a fuel pressure gauge hooked up to this thing in some way to be able to see what your pressure is. I'm gonna go ahead and go with a new paper gasket. It's fresh and clean. So yeah, let's go ahead and use that. So far this 3-bond has been, I've liked it quite a bit. It works out well when it comes to sealing against oil. It's got a decent temperature rating. Curtil or whatever it is, 3. I've used that before. You guys can see it on some of this, on the case itself. It's green. It does not like harden completely, which is good. You want to have something like that when it comes to your gasket, because then it kind of like will expand and contract with the heat coming into the case. Yeah, it's Cure-LT. They have a couple different types of sealant. The Cure-LT is pretty good stuff. Check out the description below, guys. Once again, if you do buy something that's in the description below, I'll put the 3-bond down there too. You're supporting the channel because I'm an Amazon affiliate, and like a percentage of the purchase goes towards me, which is very cool, and I appreciate you. All right, let's see how much of a pain in the butt this is gonna be. Or if it just slides nice and easy. Ooh, it did. It slid so nice. It's being kind to me. Throw the push rod down on there. I'm gonna go ahead and lube this up a little bit too because it's just a good idea. Just a good idea. Some of this white lithium. It's a good idea also to pack some grease into your fuel pump and the base, and I'll show you what I'm talking about here in a second when I get the fuel pump out. So there's all kinds of aftermarket fuel pumps. You know, I'm not sure where this one came from exactly. It could be from Brazil, or who knows. It doesn't really have any markings on it to give it away, but that's what I'm talking about with packing it base full of grease. That's what I mean. Here's another fuel pump. This one does have some markings on it. Made in Mexico, so that's definitely an aftermarket one. You can see that it has everything in there already to mount it, and I have the rod for that particular pump that's already in there. So it's always good to have a spare one. This has the piece here as well, just in case. It's always good to have some spares. So I looked through a few of my books and found that they prefer that you don't put any sealant on this. So you can just stack them up and then you just put the fuel pump on top, and you're good to go. This is where you would add or subtract gaskets to increase or decrease your fuel pressure. We're just going with one, so it's probably gonna be as much pressure as we can get, whatever that ends up being, as long as it runs the motor. That'd be up to you guys to figure out if you need to add or subtract more pressure if things are running poorly. Once again, packed with grease in the base of this bad boy, and we just set her on, and there's gonna be a little pressure because that plunger has pressure. Get a couple of the 13mm nuts and some washers, and we'll be ready to lock this bad boy down. You can use lock washers if you are not using nylock type nuts. These are nylock type nuts. That means they've got that little plastic inside there, like plastic inside the nut, that makes it so you don't need the lock washer. Pretty cool, man, pretty cool. Fuel pump is in here. All right, fuel pump is in. And now it's time to put the distributor in. Now you guys can see I painted this a while back just with some silver paint, and I'm running electronic points inside here, unlike the ones that you guys are used to seeing. Now, setting up your points is pretty straightforward and simple. You got points in a condenser, but electronic, for me, is definitely the way to go. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and put a little lube on the distributor drive shaft down here as well. It doesn't hurt to help things along, and we wanna go ahead and install the anti-chatter spring at this time. And I know some of you guys are like, what the heck is that all about? Because you probably never ran one before. It's also a good time to, if you haven't, this is a used distributor, so if you haven't, to put some lube on your seal, because that seal can be a real pain in the butt to go into the case if it's not lubed up. Let's just say that's for sure. Anti-chatter spring. You guys can pick these things up online. I think I got this one from CB Performance, and it just goes right down inside the distributor drive, and helps keep this from making a bunch of noise because it pushes right up against the distributor base here. Keeps this from making a bunch of racket as it's spinning up. Do you see? There you go. Spring in place. All right. Here we go. Put that down on there. Of course, it's not lining up with the stud, so that's awesome. There it goes. Takes a little playing around with it. Cool. Everything's dropped down. We're gonna go ahead and set base timing. Static timing we'll do once we have power and everything, and it's just we'll hook up a test light, and once you rotate, then the light comes on and you'll be static timed. But for now, let's go ahead and tighten this bad boy up, and we will be good to go with this portion. And I think that'll be it for tonight, guys. All right, guys, that is gonna do it for today. We got quite a bit done with the fuel pump and the distributor drive install. As you can see that it wasn't actually straight across, but we did get lined up on number 1 TDC. A lot of work left to do. I'm gonna start working on getting the flywheel installed. And yeah, let me show you something real quick when it comes to that. Oh, yes, that is an 8-dowel crank, guys. Let me zoom you in. Now, this is an option that you guys can do if you want to. You get yourself a little jig like this. And this piece right there that screws into the crank, and you can drill that sucker out with some 5/16 drill bits to get the 8-dowel setup, which adds some strength and stability if you're running, say, a Lighten flywheel, which I was doing at one time. So all that for the flywheels, and we'll probably get the rocker arms installed in the next video too, and we're getting awfully close to firing this bad boy up. My guess is it'll be early in the new year when we get that done, guys. Hope you're enjoying the holidays, enjoying your Christmas, and New Year's is coming soon. Have a great weekend. Maybe get something cool, some new cool tools underneath the tree. Yeah, garage time, baby. Whew. See you guys in the next one. This is Jason with JWClassicVW, and I'm out. Ooh, so you hung out to the very end of the video. That means you're a super subscriber. Part of the Christmas time, guys, I like to give something away, and it is time for a calendar giveaway because, 2023 is coming, and there's a few other things that I want to give you guys, so check this out. So I have a bunch of cool little tags and key things and some stuff from Mario over the Dub Shop, some keychain stuff. Yeah, he does all kinds of awesome turbo things, and well, the chemical guys have a chamois that is just amazing. It's like a super size chamois. I'm gonna show you over here. Yeah, super size chamois calendar, and all you guys have to do is comment below with calendar 2023, and you'll be entered in the drawing for that awesome prize and some of this other stuff I got over here. Yeah, so comment below, guys, and we'll do the drawing in the next video. See you then. Bye-bye. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Flag tag here. You get the flag tag as part of the drawing. Not all my keys. Not those. The flag tag. And I'll get you a channel sticker too. Bye-bye, guys.